Call this meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the City of Bay City to order. First item on the agenda is the introduction and call. To my far left is Doug Rise. To my near left, Chris Greenleaf. I am William Darby. To my near right is Jan Rise. And in my far right is Charles Congdon, members of the board. First item is the approval of the minutes for October 8th of 2024. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Sorry, there is a correct. Doug isn't listed as being present, Doug Rice, but he was here. As noted in some of the minutes, he was here.
We have a motion to accept with a correction. And a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those not in favor say nay. 5 yeas, no nays. We now are at a time where public comment on the item that, but not on the item that is on the agenda tonight. Is there anybody that wants to address the Zoning Board of Appeals for some reason or other? Hearing none. We are here tonight for case Z24-05, 200 Chandler Street, Christopher Nee, the appellant. He is requesting a non-use variance from Article 19, walls and fences. First variance is from Section 122-423, parens 1, parens C. Fences and walls constructed inside and rear yards shall not exceed 6 feet in height. The second variance is from Section 122-421, parens B, parens 3. All supporting posts, cross members, and protruding bolts, screws, and/or hardware of fences shall be inside the lot and face toward the interior of the property of the person who erects, constructs, or causes to have constructed the fence. Is Mr. Nee in attendance? Nye? We'd like you to come up to the podium, sign in, and tell us why you should be allowed these two variances.
So I'm proposing or requesting a variance on a couple different things. Like you said, one is the height. The height right now.
Excuse me, can you speak into the microphone? Thank you.
There's a couple different things, as I was saying, that I'm requesting variances on. One is the height. Currently, it is at 8 feet. That's what the size of the boards that were bought, that were pre-assembled. I am willing to, and I don't know if you guys have all the documents that I turned in with all the pictures and showing the different sections.
You may assume we do.
You'll be able to see that my neighbor behind me and to the south of me has a white picket, white vinyl fence. But their ground height is far significantly higher than what my original ground height was when I first moved into the house back in '99, which is where the current fence, the metal fence that's still there, is at. So my proposal would be is to knock my current wood barrier, I don't even call it a fence because of where it's inside my property line, and I still have my metal fence there. But I am willing to knock it down to this, to make it level to what my neighbor has for a fence, to make it uniform and look nice. That would end up bringing it down to a height of 7 feet 2 inches instead of the 6 feet. I also have done numerous calculations. I have an engineering degree. I have an architecture degree. I went through and did the deflection, yield, strength, and everything for this wooden barrier for both distributed loads and point loads, with the posts that are there, with the steel posts that are there for the strength. There is no issue of any type of deformation or breaking of anything, even up to 100-mile-an-hour wind. The other problem that I run into is the reason I kept this all inside my yard, inside my fence line, is because my neighbor behind me will not allow me on his property at all. And the reason I put this up too, initially, is because my neighbor behind me has been caught multiple times feeding or giving stuff to my animals. I have lost an animal because of poisoning in the past 2.5 years. And this neighbor has given stuff to my animals that has also caused one of my family members go into the hospital because of contamination that was on the food that the dog ate, causing her to have an allergic reaction. So I am basically got enough was enough, and I had to put something up there to try and keep him from reaching over the fence or reaching through the fence to give stuff to the dogs. That being said, I don't know how, without somehow the city intervening, to be able to go on his property to make the fence on the opposite side be per the good side, as you guys would call it. Now, the other thing is, it will be behind my metal fence. I don't plan on taking that down. You can see he has even stuff on one of the pictures, timbers and dirt built up against the metal fence. And you will be able to see why there's a gap there. Again, I could put something there, but I'd have to be on his property, and that's not going to happen without the city intervening. The last thing would be the 4x4 posts are bolted and screwed together with the metal posts, so they're all acting as one. If I was to get a variance on the allowing of, or let's say I do put it where I flip it both ways to make it look nice on both sides, I would not be able to cover the 4x4 post unless it was just a single 1x to put up against it, because the metal post is in front of the 4x4 post. I'm not sure if you guys have any questions. Like I said, I tried to give you guys all the information. It's approximately would be knocked down about 10 inches from what it is right now to be the same height as the white vinyl fence that's currently there, to make it all look uniform all the way across. But the biggest problem, like I said, was being able to put stuff on the opposite side because of his issues, whatever, the issues between us. I wouldn't be able to go onto his property and do anything, to be able to do anything between the current barrier and the fence, to put anything up. without being on his property.
Any questions of him?
How long has this fence been up at its current state?
Since the summer, or August? When did they get started putting up stuff? Was it around August? Was it September, August? Sorry, that's my wife. So it's been up only for a few months.
I'm not sure if it's in here. If it is, I've forgotten it. How tall is the wire fence?
Wire fence is approximately 35 inches tall. So the wooden fence is sticking beyond the wire fence about 51 inches, with me cutting it down to that 7 feet 2 inch space or point to match with the neighbor's fence.
Further questions? We may have some further questions later on, but that's enough for right now.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else in the audience wants to speak to the issue?
Mr. Darby, are you open, sorry, this is really loud. Are you opening public comment? Okay, we might need a motion in a second to open public comment.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to open public comment.
Support.
There's motion and support to open up public comment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those not in favor say nay. 5 yea, no nay. Sign in. Tell us your comments, please.
Yeah, I'm his neighbor at 118 Chandler Street. The fence looks pretty high. The fact that
Excuse me, what's your name?
Bill Brzezinski. The fence looks pretty high. We're a residential area. We're not a commercial or industrial area. It looks like an industrial fence. I mean, it needs to be cut right down. It probably could have been put in with the better side looking towards the other neighbor. But like I say, there's two fences there, and there's going to be growth in between the two areas. And there's obviously, with a tall fence like that, if he can't get on the others, one of the neighbor he's complaining about is going to have to take care of all the grass and everything. It's in between the two fences. I know his lot's a little bit lower there. His house is on the old railroad spur that ran right down. I'm trying to think of that. It used to run it down through there and go by Pat's place and everything. And that, matter of fact, that railroad spur runs right through the middle of his home. And that's pretty close, isn't it? Yeah, I'll tell you how, when the coal train goes by on my house, I can feel the picture vibrating on the wall just slightly, because you know how a railroad spur is compact in that. But I guess it's gonna look like a big, heavy commercial fence. you know, it should be cut down a little bit. And there's probably ways that you could have put it in where the better side was towards the outside too, but it's up, so.
Any questions? Thank you. Anybody else want to speak to the issue? We have none.
Point of order, if you want to speak during public comment, please state your name and,
My name's Chris Nye. I'm at 200 Chandler Street. The neighbor per where the fence is up against that side has already gone through and sprayed Roundup, killed all the grass, never ever asked if that was acceptable on my property or not. So he's already done things to the land without ever even considering, hey, is there gonna be a problem or not? I'm just addressing so that he realized there's gonna be no weeds or no dirt or no grass growing up in that area because he's already killed everything in that area. So just giving you guys, you know, heads up that that's the situation.
Thank you. Anybody else? Do we have any questions of any of the commentators? Shall we go into session to discuss it, come to a decision?
if you're, just a motion to close public comment first.
Is there a motion?
Motion to close public comment.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to close public comment. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. 5 yea, no nay. Anybody want to say anything about this? I might say start out with something and just indicate that I've not heard anything tonight about any dire need to have this at a height greater than 6 feet, other than I want it. That's basically a comment that I would indicate. Oh, I might say that there were two mail-ins or telephones, one from a Lori Grierson, 203 East Crump, opposed, and a Robert Dufresne, 201 Huron Avenue, opposed, and he just basically, I disagree with the variance fence, basically opposed. Any other comments?
I'll make the comment that I agree with Bill on this. I didn't hear anything tonight of reasons why this variance should be allowed. It seems like there's more of a neighborhood issue than a variance issue. This fence could be compliant with city guidelines and still do the feasible nature that is needed to be a barrier. And as far as the outside facing in, vice versa, I think that the fence could have been constructed better manner, so it was more compliant with city standards, with the outside being the good side of that fence.
Further comment?
My comment pertains to not getting a permit to put the fence up, which would have made this meeting unnecessary. It appears that it's something that the appellate wanted to have rather than a need for this height of a fence and the way it was constructed.
Further comments?
Question to staff, if I may. Question to staff, if I may. Anthony, you cite in your write-up on this regarding the appellant's statement of bringing in fill dirt at some point in time to partially alleviate the issue with the height of the fence. And you've cited section 122-421, parent C, which states that the determination of height of a wall, fence, or residential entranceway structure shall be measured from the surface of the ground adjacent to its proposed location. Fill shall not be permitted for the purpose of achieving a height greater than what otherwise would be permitted. My question there is the definition of adjacent. Are we talking both sides of the fence, being that they are both adjacent to the fence?
So from my understanding, that's always been determined as the adjacent ground on the subject property.
Just the subject property and not the,
I'm not aware of any like zoning administrator determination that's talked about adjacent properties or adjacent ground. It's been in relation to the property on which the fence is to be placed.
but there's no other definition of adjacent anywhere in the ordinance.
Not in relation to this particular section of the ordinance, no.
Okay, thank you.
We have a request for two variances. The second one the first one is not exceeding 6 feet in height. The second is basically, I'm going to say, pretty side in and versus, pretty side out versus pretty side in. Any comments on the second variance request?
I guess my comment would be that, I mean, that's the requirement, and that's what needs to be done. There wouldn't, I don't know a good reason to allow him to leave the fence as it is instead of complying with code.
I would also concur with Jan on that. He could have did better construction, kept it within guidelines by removing the metal fence and replacing it with the wood fence on the same lot line that that current wire fence is at. And then the good side would have been to the out, there would have been no difficulties assembling that fence.
Other comments?
I guess I'd like to address standards. The first standard is that strict compliance with restrictions governing setback, et cetera, height, density, and other non-use matters would unnecessarily prevent the owner from using the property for a permitted purpose and will render conformity with this unnecessary burdensome. I don't find that that it would be unnecessary burdensome, and that there's not a adequate reason to allow for a 7-foot fence. He can just as easily have a 6-foot fence that would provide him with privacy or whatever his requirements are.
Other comments? I might say that, or indicate that I have heard nothing that indicates to me that there would be any reason to vary from the standards set forth in the ordinance, other than the fact that it's up. I'm sorry about that, but had there been a telephone call to the city, it could have been resolved prior to it going up. So my thought on it would be that neither the first request for the height should be denied, and the second request for the, I'm going to call it the pretty side, to be changed from the outside to the inside, so that the pretty side is looking towards the neighbors. Other comments?
I have one more. The need for these variances, in my opinion, are self-created, that he decided to build a 7-foot fence and to put the pretty side on the inside, which was created by him, that made him need the 2 variances.
Other comments? Shall we close the,
I'm sorry, Bill, I do have one comment.
go ahead.
Strict compliance with the height requirement of 6 feet from grade will give us a somewhat of a unique result with the fence of the property owner to the south, whereas it will end up resulting in a fence that is going to be obviously shorter than that existing fence. And I'm not sure how that's going to look visually. Obviously, it'll look somewhat strange, but that would be the strict compliance with a 6-foot height. And I just wanted to make that comment.
Further comments? If not, shall we make a motion to close the discussion and go for a motion or two?
I'll make the motion to close.
Motion to close, is there a second?
Support?
All those in favor of closing the discussion and going to a vote on the issues, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. 5 yea, no nay. Is there a motion for the request for the first? Gotta find it.
Mr. Dyer, can we motion, do these need to be motioned separately, or can they be motioned together?
Either way, they can be handled separately, or they can be handled together.
I'd be happy to make a motion. Based on our discussion and finding of standards, I move to deny the request for both, his request for both variances.
There's a motion to deny both variances. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. May we have a roll call vote, please? A yea will be for the motion to deny. A nay will be against the motion to deny. Understood?
Mr. Rise,
Yay.
Mr. Greenleaf,
Yes.
Mr. Darby,
Yes.
Ms. Rise,
Yes.
Mr. Congan,
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays. Motion passes. Variances are denied. Is there anything else, Mr. Dyer?
No other business at this time.
Motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn?
Second?
Support.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say nay. 5 yea, no nay. We stand adjourned.